Hi, my name is Birgitta Bedford. I did a presentation for Pro-Economy back in October last year about water stagnation and bacteria that can cause disease. This presentation follows up from that one really, because I'm going to talk about COVID-19 and infection control. COVID-19 has been a major shock and still is to the NHS and social care systems, as we are now unfortunately so aware of. Who would have thought that the outbreak in Wuhan would hit the UK in the way it did and still does? It's hard not to think about anything else but COVID-19 at the moment, unfortunately. But we are now also so aware of the devastation tiny germs, like the COVID-19 virus SARS-CoV-2, can cause. To date, over 2 million people have died because of COVID-19 worldwide, in spite of the national lockdowns that were in place last year and that still are in place now, which is damaging to the economy as well as the well-being of many people. COVID-19 is not the only disease that kills people. Diseases by other viruses and also by bacteria can be fatal too. For instance, other coronaviruses have killed in the past. The first known coronavirus is SARS-CoV-1, which was first reported in Asia in 2003. The disease from SARS-CoV-1 spread to 29 countries. But compared to COVID-19, which currently has caused the death of over 2 million people worldwide, SARS-CoV-1 only killed just under 800 people. 9 years later, the coronavirus MERS-CoV was identified in several countries in the Middle East, Africa and South Asia in 2012. This virus has also, compared to COVID-19, only caused 858 known deaths. Influenza viruses, such as the H1N1 virus, were much more damaging and caused shocking pandemics during the last century. In fact, much more shocking than COVID-19. For instance, the Spanish flu in 1918, which killed estimated between 20 and 50 million people worldwide, and the Asian flu in 1957 to 1958, which killed around 2 million people worldwide, and more recently the swine flu pandemic in 2009, which killed estimated more than 500,000 people worldwide. We also all know what HIV and the Ebola viruses can do to us. In 2019, still around 690,000 people died from AIDS worldwide. Much less, though, than in 2004, thankfully, when 1.7 million people died, but it still kills. No vaccine for AIDS has been developed yet, and the HIV virus is becoming resistant to antiviral drugs. Also, over 11,000 people died of the Ebola virus in 2016. But we mustn't forget the diseases caused by bacteria. We are often exposed to bacteria that can be harmful to our health. Exposure could be during medical procedures, from dental work to organ transplantations, from cancer therapy to hip and knee replacements. It can also happen when we injure ourselves, even through a simple scratch. As with viruses, bacteria are also opportunistic. And bacteria, for instance, have found ways around antibiotic treatment and are becoming or are already resistant to most antibiotics. We call these bacteria superbugs, like for instance MRSA, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, E. coli, legionella, mycobacteria, etc. They also cause global health disasters. It is estimated that they kill approximately 700,000 people a year. The WHO even estimated that if we do not combat this resistance to antibiotics, as many as 10 million people might die per year by 2050. The UK case fatality rate of COVID-19 in April last year, at the height of the pandemic last year, was around 10%. However, in 2019 in the UK, the MRSA case fatality rate was higher, at between 24 and 25%. And the case fatality rate by Pseudomonas aeruginosa was even higher, at around 27%. And then there is legionella, the cause of Legionnaire's disease. This superbug kills as well. The case fatality rate by Legionnaire's disease has been as high as 30% during various outbreaks worldwide. Right now, because of COVID-19, especially Legionella and the Legionnaire's disease it can cause should not be overlooked. I will try to explain why. First of all, the symptoms of Legionnaire's disease and also of diseases caused by other bacteria can be very similar to those of COVID-19 disease. Symptoms are, as with COVID-19, cough, fever, chills, muscle pain, headache, shortness of breath and difficulty breathing. With COVID-19, taste and smell can be lost, which is not the case with Legionnaire's disease. The path of infection, transmission by the COVID-19 virus and the Legionnaire's disease bacteria, Legionella monophila, can be similar. The COVID-19 virus is primarily transmitted between people through droplets of saliva and mucus carrying the virus from coughing and sneezing by infected people, and also through inhaling tiny particles carrying the virus produced by infected people by just talking. But Legionnaire's disease is also transmitted through droplets carrying Legionella bacteria, but not from human to human. Instead, it infects humans through water droplets from contaminated water systems that are inhaled. The COVID-19 virus can also, of course, infect people by direct contact with contaminated surfaces, and contaminated hands can then spread to the mouth, nose or eyes. This is not the case with Legionella, but can happen with other disease-causing bacteria, such as Pseudomonas aeruginosa, which, as mentioned before, can also cause serious infections. Diagnosis and treatment of Legionnaire's disease and other bacterial diseases is very much different to that of COVID-19. COVID-19 is diagnosed by a nose and throat swab antigen test, and results are quick, normally within 48 hours, but bacterial diseases are confirmed by a culture test, and results take longer, which can even be up to 8 weeks. This is important to understand because when diagnosis takes longer, proper treatment also takes longer, and Legionnaire's disease, as well as other bacterial diseases, cannot be treated with antiviral drugs or steroids. They must be treated quickly with antibiotics. If, for instance, treatment with antibiotics is delayed because, for instance, COVID-19 is suspected, Legionnaire's disease can be fatal, because if untreated, Legionella bacteria spread rapidly throughout the body, which can result in sepsis and death. It is important to also stress that the right antibiotics will need to be given to treat Legionnaire's disease because of bacterial resistance to most antibiotics. Several vaccines are now available and administered for COVID-19, thankfully. However, whether or not COVID-19 or a variant of it, COVID-20, COVID-21, can strike again is not yet clear. A vaccine has not yet been developed for Legionnaire's disease. Vaccine trials with MRSA, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and E. coli are also still ongoing. The SARS-CoV-2 virus infects from human to human and from contaminated surfaces, and not from contaminated water systems, as is the case with Legionella. The prevention and control measures for COVID-19 and Legionnaire's disease are therefore different. The key to preventing COVID-19 is to stop it spreading from human to human, which is hoped to be achieved, as we all know so well, by lockdowns, wearing masks, hand washing and keeping a safe distance. Yet the key to preventing Legionnaire's disease is to avoid growth and spread of Legionella in water systems, which is hoped to be achieved by ensuring that building owners and managers maintain the building water system to reduce the risk of Legionella growth and spread. This requires regular maintenance, cleaning and disinfection of plumbing components, applying proven control measures to water systems that have proven to control Legionella, also monitoring for Legionella to see if the water system is contaminated, and doing regular risk assessments of the water system as well, and avoiding the formation of biofilms in water systems. Controlling biofilms in water systems is important to control Legionella, because Legionella and other disease-causing bacteria need biofilms to hide and thrive in. Biofilms are thin films of living communities of bacteria that can include Legionella and Pseudomonas aeruginosa. ProEconomy's webinar of October last year discusses biofilms in water systems and its hazards in detail. So, why does COVID-19 cause us to worry more about Legionella? Basically, the COVID-19 lockdowns have adversely affected the quality of water in our building water systems. The stay-at-home advisories and operating restrictions have decreased water use and demand in buildings and also in hospitals. Because buildings, universities, schools, offices, shops, hotels, restaurants, bars, pubs, casinos, etc. had to shut down for months, water has become stagnant. The water temperature, therefore, has been at a dangerous temperature between 20 and 45 degrees Celsius, which are temperatures at which Legionella and other disease-causing bacteria are most comfortable and grow. The time water also sits in the water system has been too long, depositing rust, sludge, scale and organic matter onto the inner surfaces of water pipes and plumbing components, and biofilms have covered the water pipes and plumbing materials. A dangerous risk of contracting Legionnaire's disease has therefore been created by the COVID-19 prevention measures. The water quality has degraded, enabling disease-causing bacteria to thrive. Legionella bacteria grow very well in the water systems of buildings that have been shut due to the pandemic. Biofilms have developed in these systems in which Legionella grows very well, where the water is at the temperature it loves, where it can party with other microbes, where it can feed and thrive, where it can hide away from control measures, where other superbugs such as Pseudomonas aeruginosa that can also cause serious infections are partying with them. We have to be aware of this, especially when buildings are reopening. You should ask yourself, is the water safe before reopening and reoccupying my building? My advice is to try to keep the water flowing during closure, which may be difficult to do because of the pandemic. You cannot physically remove biofilms that most likely have developed on the inner surfaces of your building's water pipes. Yet if you do not remove biofilms from your water system, Legionella will grow and contaminate it. Therefore, test for Legionella before reopening your building. This can be expensive, but is the only way of knowing whether or not a water system is contaminated. Just temperature checks will not give you this assurance. This will only tell you whether the water is flowing well or not. Clean the plumbing components and test for Legionella from especially blended outlets, as these are prone to Legionella contamination. Remove or replace any flexible rubber-lined hoses from the water system, as these are also prone to contamination. Also remove galvanized steel pipes and replace these with copper, because copper is biocidal. But please ensure that your water system is safe and only then let people in. You do not want to have an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease, especially after having battled with the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for your attention.